Coming up on Mountain News this morning, investigators hope to shine a light on a tragic crash that took a young man away from his family 2 years ago. And the investigation continues into a crash in Clark County that took the life of a young boy.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. The time is 6 a.m. on this Friday morning, and I'm Keaton Hall. And Brandon, a little bit of fog out there, but is it starting to clear up yet?
A little bit, not too much just yet. We still got a couple more hours before it really starts to start lifting around 9 o'clock or so. But for the most part, still not too bad out there region-wide. But I'm telling you, some places is pretty thick and dense. So let's take a look, and you'll see there across the region. Looking at some zero visibility numbers down into in single digits across parts of the region. Logan pretty rough at 3, zero visibility in Harlan. You can kind of see that creeping up across parts of several counties, and then 3 down toward Jacksboro. So just take it easy this morning, even if it's not showing up on the map. Most of those sensors are up high. Most of the fog is in the valleys this morning. So just kind of keep that in mind. As we look at I-75 at Corbin, 61, maybe some haze down that way from those wildfires. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as yesterday or not. We're going to keep an eye out for that. Some light traffic on the interstate, 53 in Clintwood to 69 in Monticello this morning. A lot of mid to upper 50s and low to mid 60s out there across our region, statewide and region-wide. 61 Cincinnati, 59 Tri-Cities in Charleston, West Virginia, 68 in Bowling Green and Louisville this morning, and 67 in Knoxville. Breakfast forecast we are going to be seeing again kind of consistent temperatures right there in the low 60s for the most part, maybe some upper 50s in spots, but overall not too bad to start the day. Very mild. Keaton?
All right, thank you, Brandon. It's been 2 years since a Madison County man was hit and killed by a car. Now investigators are hoping to shine a new light on the case to bring justice for the family of Thomas Boshears. Lucy Bryson talked with his family.
Thomas Boshears was 19 years old when he was killed in a hit-and-run crash. The crash happened in 2021, and although it's been 2 years, the person who hit him has not yet been found, leaving the case cold and the family with questions.
Was it just a simple hit and run? I don't know. I want something. Justice. I just want some justice.
Taylor is Thomas's older sister. She says that through this, she may finally get answers.
I am pretty grateful because I'm always questioning, like, what happened? Who did it? Why? You know? Why didn't they call 911 if it was something?
And although the family can't bring him back, she hopes to gain some peace from this.
I mean, I'd like closure. I'd like peace or something to make some kind of peace with it, because it's hard to sleep at night. Like, I just think about it all the time, 24/7.
The investigation was recently shared in a Facebook post to people in Madison County, reminding them of the situation and urging people to come forward with answers. Officials say there was limited evidence on the scene, but from what they do know, they believe that the car that hit Boshear was a passenger vehicle rather than a truck, and they believe that the make and model was more likely to be from the late 90s and early 2000s than a current vehicle. And although there aren't many answers, the sheriff's office still believes in trying for the family.
We're going to continue to gather all the information we can to get some closure for them in the death of their family member.
In Madison County, Lucy Bryson, WKYT.
Anyone with information about the crash is asked to call the Madison County Sheriff's Office. A deadly crash in Clark County in Winchester this week is still under investigation. 2-year-old Thomas Reed died at UK Medical Center. He was the passenger in a vehicle that left the road and hit a plank fence. The Clark County Sheriff's Office says alcohol and speed appear to be factors in the crash.
Life so short as it is, for it to be taken that way is just horrible.
People really need to think before they get on the road to drink.
Thomas has been described as always laughing with a smile on his face. Although he was young, he touched the lives of many people in the community as well. We now know 2 people were killed because of a crash earlier this week in Pike County. It happened Monday night on East Shelbyana Road near the Millard Bridge in Pikeville. 2 vehicles were involved. 61-year-old Robin Cheney and 51-year-old Anthony Epling, both of Pikeville, were killed in the crash. We are told one vehicle crossed the center line and hit the other one. We received an update yesterday on what the future will look like for kids in Kentucky jails. House Bill 3 and Senate Bill 162 aim to rehaul the juvenile justice system across the Commonwealth. This is after reported fights, fires, and unlivable conditions at some of their facilities. One of the biggest problems they will solve is understaffing. The department's commissioner explains why having a good ratio of guards to inmates is so important.
If our kids are like attention starved, and if they can't get it in positive ways, they'll go for negative. But having somebody there to talk to you and ask you how it went in court, to talk about that bad phone call you got from home, to just ask how your day is going, helps keep those behavior incidents down. So it really is a ripple effect that goes through our entire system.
The bills would allow an additional $9.5 million to hire more people at the facilities. Governor Andy Beshear signed both of them in March. A ruling by the Kentucky Supreme Court will lift a temporary suspension against former Commonwealth's attorney Ronnie Goldie. The General Assembly impeached Goldie in March. Goldie resigned in February after accusations that he did favors for a woman facing prosecution in exchange for nude photos. The state Supreme Court's ruling will allow him to once again practice law in the state. The Kentucky Supreme Court also ruled against the University of Kentucky in a dispute involving students and administrative fees during the pandemic. Students wanted to sue the university, saying they should not have paid fees in full during the pandemic when classes were virtual. The university claims government immunity from that lawsuit. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled the university and students had a written binding contract, and students have a legitimate expectation to receive what they paid for. Now, the claim of breach of contract can continue. State officials say one of the buildings evacuated during last Friday night's fire in downtown Hazard was not supposed to be occupied. WIMT's Chandler Wilcox has more on what we've learned and how some tenants are reacting.
Several people were evacuated from the Treehouse building during a fire that happened within feet from the structure. WIMT received confirmation from state officials that people were not supposed to be living in the building prior to the fire. Now some tenants are wondering why Carter Realty and Associates, which owns the building, was renting out spaces there.
I'm really upset about it because you could have told me, and I was pretty vulnerable in the time of moving in because I didn't have anywhere to go. So I'm just really hurt about it because they had plenty of opportunities to tell me.
Tenants say they were not notified about the stop work order on the door, but instead the landlord said they didn't have anything to worry about.
When I signed my lease, he told me that if any fire marshals were to come and bother me, just to slam the door in the face, he would take care of it, but if I were to let them in, that we would all be evicted.
Barger says they were not allowed to enter through the front door, but rather a way she says was difficult to get through.
He took the fire escape in the back. Was our only way in, our only way out.
Although the building was evacuated on June 9th, Barger says that landlord Brian Carter told them it is still safe.
He has went on to say that we can still live there, to ignore any of the officials, and that, I mean, we could just live there still, and that nothing's wrong with it.
Unless a firefighter is with her, Barger says she does not plan to re-enter the building. In Hazard, Chandler Wilcox, WIMT Mountain News.
To read a portion landlord Brian Carter of Carter Realty and Associates statement to WIMT, you can visit our website.
.608 here on this Friday morning. Thank goodness it's Friday. We've made it. Let's take a look, see what's going on across our region. We go north this time up to the Wolf-Powell County line on that section of the Mountain Parkway. 64 up that way. The haze is in full effect, it looks like this morning. The skies try to brighten up, but the sunshine, maybe just a few clouds kind of hanging out above that. 54 Clintwood, 65 Jackson, Pikeville, 69 Monticello, 50s across Southwest Virginia and Middlesboro and Manchester. Everybody else is in the 60s this morning. First Alert weather app forecast. Might want to keep this handy the next few days. Just if we do see some showers, if you look up and see some dark clouds, you can kind of check your app and see, hey, okay, is it going to do anything or not? So again, I do think next week we'll have some more action for it, but today and this weekend, the only thing you'll be tracking on there is the temperatures as they get warmer. Keaton?
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way next. Coming up, senior officials race to limit the impact of a worldwide cyber attack that affected several government agencies here in the U.S.